I'm wide open. There's no secrets with me. It's
that's
100%
good. That's what you
open
said.
transparency life.
Yeah.
It's the only way you really
well, and
teach
these
people.
flow until Andy yells at me to wrap it up. So you're talking too much, Brett. Shocking that that would be told to me.
All right, take it when you're ready. All right, stand by. We're recording. Here we go. Stand by. Go ahead. Go for it.
Welcome to Purpose. I'm your host, Brittany Zonker, and on today's show, I have Shane Griffin. He is the CEO of Vitamin Patch Club, but he has done so much more in his life, which I would love to get into first. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. We're excited to have you. So you are a Canadian.
I am Canadian. I'm
to
transplant down here. Yeah, I came down about 4.5 years ago.
There
you go. I got it right in.
Oh, there we go. Right off the bat.
And
He's from Canada.
And now I'll tell you, I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
And then what's the other one we say that we usually get mocked at down here? Milk. We say milk different.
Milk.
Yeah, we say milk. I didn't know that was different.
Usually the sorry. The O's get ya.
Sorry get us.
Yeah.
And about A, take off A, you hose head.
Okay, well now that we've really
We've done all of the prejudice and stereotypes of Canadians. And I played hockey my whole life and I love it.
Shocking.
Yeah. I actually have hockey sticks in the back of my truck.
Still?
Yeah.
What are you doing with them in LA?
I don't have a gun.
Oh, so you beat people with the hockey stick?
No, I don't beat anybody, but
okay.
You know, holding a stick in a bad situation is really intimidating to somebody that doesn't know what a hockey. I think hockey sticks, all hockey players are fighters. So you have a stick in your hand. No, I play ball hockey.
Okay.
I play ball hockey and I still play pickup.
Kind of getting scared, Shane.
I play pickup hockey.
We're losing track of this.
Exactly. It's gone off the rails already.
We've gone off the rails. Let's rope it back. So you're from Toronto.
I am originally, yeah.
And you were up there starting nightclubs, correct?
That was the life. Yeah, I got into, before the actual nightclubs, I actually promoted and ran Raves, whenever Raves were what Raves used to be.
Cue music.
So, yeah, and when we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter, you had a guy in a costume on a certain street corner handing out addresses to abandoned warehouses at 3 in the morning. You get 3,000, 4,000 people show up with DJs like a Tiesto or something like that back in the day. EDM was really popular in Toronto long before it spread anywhere else. We kind of gravitated or took it from Europe, really. So I started kind of in Florida because I went to university down in Florida, and there wasn't a scene. University of Florida.
Okay.
And there wasn't really a scene down there for it, so I started promoting down there. Got a taste of the party life. That's where my whole, that's where everything started for me on good and bad, right? Because there's always two sides of the coin. Moved to Toronto. Moved back home to Toronto. I worked for a family business with my brother and my father for a very short period of time.
Was it in the industry?
No, they're automotive sector. They do quality control, maintenance, manage GSOs for the paint shops and assembly plants in Chrysler, Ford, GM. My brother, it's his business now. He took it over many years ago and then acquired it, father, and he's grown it tremendously. But he was married, kids. He loved that grind, automotive grind. It just wasn't my bag. And you
it wasn't your bag yet. You started Raves. It's like they're so different.
It's so it was. I remember coming back home to work, and I looked at my brother one day, and I was like, you know what, Clint, you like this grind, like you like going to the office and having pumps and janitorial, and I'm like, I don't. He's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I really like throwing parties, and I've got a super supportive family, and I talked to my parents too, and they're like, you know, we'll support you. You know, your brother's following his path, and this is your path. We'll support you. We had a couple criteria for that support. One, I couldn't just go lease a space downtown and be a club owner.
Right. How do you do it? How do you start your company?
I started originally being kind of a hang-around. A friend of mine, Jesse, owned a nightclub on Pearl Street called Casino Lounge, and I went and spent a lot of money, and I drank in the VIP every week, but I got in to know the owners. And eventually I got accepted in their little inside group where the after parties happen. Like after everybody goes home, sits around, has a drink, cash outs happen, and you do your tills and you do your balancing and everything. And I was able to see those systems and processes. And I do know systems and process from our family business, which is automotive. Right. So I understood, I put it linearly, and I was like, this is how this has to work. And I noticed some not errors, because didn't know enough about the business to know there were errors, but I noticed I thought I could do it better. So I approached my family and I was like, look, I want to actually do my own thing. And
they were still supportive. They're like, okay, so
hesitantly, yeah. My dad kind of gave me an ultimatum type thing. He's like, look, here's what the budget will be. He goes, and my mother manages all of my dad's money. They've got the best relationship.
Great.
Married 50 years.
She's figured it out, everybody.
Yeah, she's dialed in. And my dad loved his job. He loved to go out and work. He loved his team. He loved the people he worked with. So he didn't really care what was coming home because he liked what he did. And my mom would buy, he'd come home and my mom would say, I've bought a new home. And he's like, oh, we're moving? Okay.
Great.
Like, they have a really great, and they're entrepreneurial. They built the businesses together. So the only deal with him was he said, look, I don't know if you're going to be good at this. He goes, and I need to have some security. So your mother will lend you the money, but we're registering the loan with the government. So you're paying 2 points above prime. You have an interest payment. You have, and above prime. So they didn't loan shark me, but it wasn't, a handout. And it was a handout because.
Well, it was your family.
Yeah, but it was registered. It was a real loan.
Interesting.
And then my dad said, you're not going to lease a space because if you screw up, I want to own the building.
Right.
And if you pay back the mortgage, like I'll co-sign a mortgage, and you'll get a mortgage. And we had private placement equity fund that supported us on another high interest rate. So I had an interest rate with my mom, and I had an interest rate with this private equity firm that lent me the money. And we opened about 6 months too late. But it was an epic spot in the city of Toronto. Anybody that's around my age knew Therapy Lounge, which is ironic because now I work with people.
Yeah, it's completely flipped. Get to, but a different type of therapy now.
Absolutely. And therapy was great. It hustled, bustled. I paid off the building, paid off my parents, had a great team. It was like a family atmosphere. I took those wonderful lessons I learned from my dad about having open door policy, treating everybody as an equal. If there's dirty cups on the counter, you don't call the bar back, you pick them up.
You do it. You
right?
do the
like,
work.
I mean, there's no hierarchy really. Titles are BS. Like I'm the CEO. I know we have to have it on all of our, to get providence or whatever with people, but it's kind of, we're just a bunch of people trying to drive the same goal together.
And if you work together with people and you lead by example, even when you're the owner or the CEO, I think people work harder for you.
They do, and you gain respect. You can't get respect by bullying.
Right.
And by being an authoritarian. Not in my world. I mean, I'm sure some people have, and that might be successful for them, but it doesn't appeal to me. I'd rather, maybe it's an esteem issue. I'd rather be liked also.
Right. Little ego in there is okay.
Yeah.
Everything.
I didn't want to be just this guy authoritarian sitting in my office going, "Hey, get that done, get this done." So.
Well, some people that maybe don't have the capital to get a loan, what would you suggest if they're wanting to start a business? How can they know, they're like, this is what my purpose is, this is what I want to do. What would you suggest to them?
First thing first is I actually, it's funny you asked that because I had a question with one of my businesses of recent, which we'll get into. I was asked if I could franchise it. Somebody said, I want to open a location of yours in Toronto. I want you to be a part of it. I love what you're doing. It's my other company, Whole Life Balance. And I asked the potential partner at the time, I said, what is it that you like about the business? And she said, I want to help people like you help people. And I said, okay, as an owner, you will do less of that. So understand what your dream really is.
Smart.
Understand what the business really is, because everybody has this idea like, I want to be an actress, right? But any idea what it takes to get into a role, the hours that it takes, you might want the perks of it, or you might want the benefits of it, or the adoration from it, but there's a work ethic. A good friend of mine is, everybody makes fun of Instagram models nowadays. She's a legitimate model, and she's got 3 million followers. I know how hard she works.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, she is on set 18 hours a day, everywhere you can imagine. That's Mr. Bronx.
We're working hard. I know, if you guys hear that, that's his dog. Mr. Bronx is making a ruckus over the Instagram models.
Yeah. Hey.
He's like, what? Anyway, it's
Sorry.
okay. If you hear the pup, that's him scratching around. So you found your purpose with the nightclubs and throwing parties and making people feel good, but from there it also kind of led you down a tough path.
It did, and I guess originally with me, we've done this through work in therapy, but I didn't know at the time, but I had self-esteem and self-worth. That's the truth. I embellished things, and I kind of had bravado and an ego that wasn't healthy. There's healthy ego and unhealthy ego. And I misrepresented myself in a way that I thought people saw me, opposed to me being naturally who I really was.
And maybe how you wanted to be seen.
Yeah, I think
admired.
A bunch of different colliding effects really happened. I mean, one, I was all of a sudden the toast of the town in Toronto. I had Therapy Lounge, Money Nightclub. I'd acquired another club that did 8,000 people a night. And then we had Machine Head, which was another 2,000 people, and Therapy was 1,000 people. So these were all happening simultaneously, and one was like a hip hop house club, and the other one was my lounge, and then a rock and roll bar. So I had this great collection of awesome people always partying. And, I don't know if it's movies, I don't know what it is, but through my lack of self-esteem, I would have, I had to be the toast of town, like I mentioned earlier before we started, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, you look. I was saying you look just like Conor McGregor. I was like, wait, Conor, what's up?
I'll
Why'd
take
you
that
come
as a
Denver?
compliment.
Yes.
But imagine if Conor McGregor didn't have the paparazzi or the fame or the fighting ability, and he showed up like he does now. That's how I showed up, but I wasn't Conor McGregor.
Okay.
Like I had a mink coat.
Oh dear.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I wasn't a gangster, but I, played tough guy on things. So you really find, and what happens then is you're not happy with your so I used more. So
You got things to mask and cover it.
and yeah, I got addicted to alcohol and cocaine, and they were two in one. I did every night.
I imagine the nightclub life was so tough to be a part of because you need to stay up. You're up late hours. The after parties are entertaining. You have to make clients happy, and so to maintain that level of, I guess positivity and upperness, like you have to.
I thought there was. I thought exactly like you, and I actually have friends of mine that are in the business now, that are very successful and don't have problems.
All right, stand by there. Change it to.
Do we want
The other
Mr.
person's not coming, so you can have the other one if you want to text them and ask them if they want to come. Or you can skip it.
She already canceled her
Alright, fine.
stuff. Yeah.
I thought she was doing her lunchtime, so that's why.
Yeah.
All right.
Or she already like rearranged
All
her
right, so
meeting.
Pick it back up with the question. Go for your next question.
Do we want your dog? Is your dog okay?
Yeah, he's good.
Okay.
He's good.
All right, go for it when you're ready.
He's getting attention, so he's not going to listen to
Okay.
me.
I imagine being in the nightclub scene, if you have to be up all night, there's a way that you need to keep your body up too, right?
That's kind of the assumption, right? And that's what I believed. And I didn't have a mentor in the club business, so I kind of went off what I would assume. But I do know people. A very good friend of mine, Zark, who runs several nightclubs in Toronto and restaurants and other events, and he doesn't have issues, but he's very driven and he scheduled himself accordingly. He goes to bed, yes, very late. He works basically a night shift, but he gets out and takes care of himself, and he's always been respected in the industry. And I just assumed that he hit it better before I got to know him. Like I assumed everyone, because I did know other club owners that were like me, that were,
right.
out there. So I became a character that wasn't myself. Like I explain it to people often. Imagine a Broadway show. You're on Broadway, right? And you put your all out for that show, for that performance.
Every night.
You get to take off that costume every night and go home and have your chicken noodle soup or whatever that you're going to do. And in my case, because I was full of myself and the ego was taken over, I never took the costume off. So for 10 years, I acted like
That's tough.
a version. It was exhausting.
It's
it was
a
exhausting.
double life. You're leading something different. Well, when did you realize then that you needed help and you needed maybe out of the business? Did you go to rehab first and you still owned the clubs? Talk to me about the transition.
So I actually got an offer from developers in Toronto to buy the properties, and it was an offer I couldn't refuse. They just spent $50 million on the property behind me, the whole parking lot, and they wanted my units to be able to build the rest of their development. So it was a fantastic offer. It was an all-cash offer, 15-day closing, like unbelievable. I walked away, and I was happy to walk away. I'd done 10 years in the business. I was pretty tired.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was going to do next, mind you, which was pretty frightening. But it was that next 2 years where really everything piled on. I didn't have that. I wasn't Shane Griffin,
Right,
nightclub
you
owner.
didn't have
I was
the-
gone like that. I didn't have a slow succession. I didn't like buy a little restaurant and migrate to something else. All of a sudden, it just stopped in 15 days.
But you also chose that. So somehow in yourself choosing not just a financial offer, I think maybe something in you was like, it's time. I need to transition.
It probably yes. I was probably exhausted, but I think I was too cocky to know that, right? Very much too cocky to know that. So I went out and I left the clubs, and I'm kind of migrating back to my hometown north of Toronto. Had a group of friends that were friends, and all we did was really drink and do drugs at my house over the years, every night, and it was. And I had another business that I started that wasn't successful because I wasn't equipped to get up at a 9 o'clock meeting, and it was over those 2 years really that I started thinking about treatment. And the only regret that I have, and I don't have many regrets in life because we live this life, and I have made my own choices, so you own that, happy or sad, and for 2 years I kind of knew. I kind of knew that I needed to get to treatment, and that's the only regret, is that I didn't act on it sooner. And the culmination of it really was a trip to Greece.
Okay.
I had failing relationships, and one girl really broke my heart. She and I, we weren't a good fit anyways, and so I'm not blaming her. I own as much of it as she does, but I was in love with her, madly in love with her, and I got devastatingly hurt from it. So I did what a typical, and I hate to use this term, but loser did, is I thought I could acquire women with my possessions, which is very sad, but it's honest. It's where I was then. So even if you didn't like me right now, I could get you to like me by exotic trips and fancy cars and nice condo and dinner out. It was never me. It was the crap
What
I
you
did
had,
around,
yeah.
right? Which is really sad, but that's where I was at.
But it's nice that you acknowledge it, and it's nice to be so honest and upfront. I think part of your purpose now, having healed and continued to have your growth with you as a person, is being truthful and being open. That, you know what, I've been through this. I was a nightclub owner. I had drug and alcohol addiction. I wasn't the best in relationships. I thought, you know, all these things that you're being forthcoming with help people, because knowing the truth is better than trying to hide and be a different person. And then once you realize what you want to work on, I think that's where the beauty comes in, just human nature, being able to pay it forward.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think there's a lot of shame in issues that we all have done, had, seen, or felt. And if you can touch people with some reality to it, saying, hey, look, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like, I've screwed it up.
Yeah.
We've all, this is what life is. It's a series of screw ups and a couple wins, right? And it's how you manage the screw ups and what you do with that information that you get from it. You know, and I look back now, and it's like a catalog of how to make better decisions.
Right.
You know, you go back and like, oh, I know what to do in that scenario, because I was at the extreme of a bad choice. And now it's like a minor one. It's like, should I stay for a couple another hour? Like, should I stay for another hour tonight with my friends? No, I got a busy day tomorrow. It's productive. Where it used to be, should I stay for 2 more days on a trip?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not going to come back and blow off a bunch of stuff. So, so yeah, it's important to tell people what the truth is, because at the end of the day, it's all we really have, right? And we can. And I lived in a lie, so I know what it's like to walk around with this shame and guilt and bullshit. Pardon my language. And it's just exhausting. It's just so much easier to say, look, this is me. You know, I learned it in treatment and therapy. They literally said to me, like, you know, 70% of people aren't probably going to like you, so get over it.
I think that's life. The more you realize, the older you get, that if you don't care as much what people think, that it helps free you.
It does.
It gives you this different life, that if you're like, you know what, already half the people that meet me aren't going to like me because of this or that, or you're going to look like somebody they didn't like, or your name's Shane, they didn't like somebody named Shane. It's like, forget it.
Out of our control.
Yeah, do your best for you. Be good to people, be honest. And so now, from all of this truth that you have coming out, your new purpose has transferred into helping people, right? Through your company, the Vitamin Patch Club, and you've done a ton of charity work, and you helped so many charity organizations. You were at one last night for bullying, right?
Boo to Bullying, yeah. It was a great event. It was
Boo
at the
to bullying, no bullying.
Yeah, Take a Bite Out of Bullying was their theme last night. It was also co-sponsored by Oceana, which takes care of our oceans and is trying to restore the damage that we have done, which is a tremendously difficult fight in today's climate, because people are denying that there's problems. So great for them. Kudos to them for their great work. Serbo was she's from Sharknado. She is the VP and the host last night, and she was spectacular. One guy, actually an ex-St. Louis Rams, donated $100,000 last night. I bought a couple silent auction items. You know, like I do my part where I can. We show up and build awareness. And that's the other thing too about this, and thank you for acknowledging that, the charity work, because a lot of people think that it is just about the money. And last night's events, it was my publicist that got me to the red carpet. Right? And I'll be 100% honest. Publicist got me to the red carpet. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know the cause until I got there. I did my own research. I drove over from Marina Del Rey to Beverly Hills. Right? So an hour in the car at 5 o'clock traffic, maybe a little bit more. And I just did the red carpet. I posted a lot about it. I did live while I was there. It's not always about dropping money. Right? I did buy a couple silent auctions, but I give back from my business, which is brand new. So we're not profitable yet. We're still getting to scale. But we've did to giving back to 3 charities a month. And giving back doesn't always mean, you know, cash.
Right.
It's
it can be your time.
It's building awareness. On my one Facebook page, we have 40,000 followers.
Great.
It's not about telling them what you're doing. It's trying to inspire them to get motivated to do something, because we all have time to give back. I got a great call from a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, I've been watching what you're doing. I just got inspired. I was walking out. He's in Fort Lauderdale lecturing at a show. And he said, I was walking out of a grocery store and I saw a homeless guy. Went back in and bought him a sandwich and sat with him while he ate it. He goes, Shane, it was the best feeling ever. This guy felt like a human. I'm like, it takes nothing.
Right.
It takes, and I'm super kudos to him, because like, everybody's got a busy life. But I said on a previous show this week, if you have time to know the stats of your favorite ball player, hockey player, football player, or your team, and play your fantasy football, I'm not against that. I relive your life. You've got time to give back a little bit, because we're all in this together at the end of the day.
And kindness doesn't cost anything.
No.
You can be sweet to somebody. Even just little things throughout the day. You could give little compliments, or it doesn't have to be money, like you said.
Yeah, it's
to
important that we all just kind of realize that we're in this together. And I don't know where that got lost, because it kind of gets under my skin when I see the divisiveness or division going on, where everybody seems to have a hate for another group of some kind. I'm like, we all come into this life the same way, and we're all going to leave it the same way. You know, why don't we just like try to work together? And I know it sounds cliche, but my whole mission now, everything is about impact, making an impact with Vitamin Patch Club. That's the whole purpose of the business. I mean, initially Vitamin Patch Club came to me as an idea that I thought was crazy. I'm like, I wonder if we can take a Nicoderm patch and turn it into vitamins.
So this is what it is. It's an actual vitamin patch. Instead of taking pills, everything you need is in this patch?
Yes, we've got different products.
Okay.
We've got a B12, a B6, and a B9. We have a vitamin D3 and a vitamin C and a biotin patch. We are coming out with more lines. That's our first 3 introduction. We launched in January, cleaned it up in May, and kind of did a second launch.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes you have to revamp, figure out what works, what doesn't work.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a basketball player. I'm just pivoting.
Who are you wanting to get this in the hands of to help?
So this is for anybody that doesn't, first of all, that is healthy, that wants to maintain their health and improve their health. The benefits of this is that it bypasses your GI tract or your digestive tract, so you're actually getting a more absorption. Right, you're getting 90% absorption with a patch.
And how does it absorb? Say, so you have it on your hand. Is that the most popular place people put it, or do they hide it?
Most people, most of the ladies that I know that wear them, which is our largest demographic, but 70% of women buy between 24 and 48. They usually wear them on their
hip,
lower, like on their hip, on their back of their shoulder, right, and then a real frequent spot is the top of the foot.
Interesting.
And we have ones that are a little bit more translucent.
Is that where it absorbs better?
It absorbs better anywhere. The only 2 places we say not to put it is on your head.
Okay.
Right? And we say not to put it on your breasts or on your buttocks.
Okay.
Because you have a little bit more fat there. And the idea of this and the logic behind transdermal technology is that we have hair follicles all over our skin, right, which go into our circulatory system, our systemic circulatory system. So when you seal your skin like we have done here, you actually start perspiration process. So your pores open up. All the nutrients are held in a water-soluble adhesion. So as it gets moist, the nutrients come down your hair follicles, enter into your systemic circulatory system, or your capillary system to your systemic circulatory system, migrate through your whole body, therefore bypassing which is the liver. Right. And the liver is what usually removes active ingredients, which are the supplements that we're taking orally. So
do you get the same benefits by not taking pills as the patch? Why would people may ask, why would I bypass the pills?
The pills, you're getting 20% efficiency. So when you're taking a pill, you're only receiving 20% of what's on the label. Pills have, if that at all. The 42% of the population doesn't like taking pills in the first place. It's just an old practice. This is more convenient. And the main thing is it's also time released. So you're getting what you need when you need it, which is a huge win for people.
That's great. So this should be in the hands of everybody, especially I would feel like athletes too would be
Athletes are a
incredible.
big fan of it. We're coming out with the performance line, which are going to be a little more aggressive, larger patches. Coming out with a kinesiology tape.
I need one like my whole back, like a whole back patch. I'm like, I got it.
Got everything in there.
Yeah.
And the whole business, though, is more importantly is, we're helping people. We've created a better mousetrap, if you will. But the business is built on what we call philanthropreneurship, which is everything that we're doing is to help you, and in turn, the profits of the business go out and help. And we're not a nonprofit. We are a for-profit company. and my COO gets mad at me a little bit because we're not even profitable. I'm like, hey, so I was at this event last night and I did this, this, and this. He's like, Shane,
It's okay.
I'm
It'll
like,
it'll come
hey, you
back
know,
around.
at the end of the day, bud, I'm
Yeah.
the one, and I don't have investors to answer to. I'm the investor.
You are, yeah.
So.
Well, what is your hope for your company and then moving forward with your new purpose?
So we say we want to save the world or heal the world one patch at a time.
Good.
Right. We want to grow the business with about 12 different SKUs. We're looking at the CPD market. So we would like to build it to a certain size. My whole dream and my goal is, what I really love to do is be a source for solution to problems. I do pro bono work for coaching people through addiction in their aftercare. And my other business, Whole Life Balance, is in the wellness space too. So I really like to help people. So that's my new cocaine.
Good.
You know, in a positive way.
Yes,
So my whole goal is to get the business to a certain size, COO and a president step and basically operate the business. And then the VPC, I particularly called the Vitamin Patch Club because we want to have a Vitamin Patch Cares nonprofit.
Great.
And I would like to end up running the nonprofit full time.
And you will.
It's going to happen.
Yes,
it's
you
already
will.
in the cards. I mean, we're basically doing it now without all the infrastructure and the scalability of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's something that everybody that I've given it to, or everybody that's heard about it, has said, "Oh my God, why isn't this being done before?"
That's great.
So.
Well, I think your story of going from having, been in the crazy entertaining industry, in the rave industry with drugs and alcohol, to now your new purpose in helping people is pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So hey, you can find us very simple, vitaminpatchclub.com, and I actually have a patch for you.
Oh, we'll put one of these patches on.
To show you how easy this is.
I didn't take my vitamins yet today, so we'll put this patch on.
This is a pre-opened patch. We open it up, we place it on, apply a couple seconds of pressure, and that is a B12, a B6, and a B9.
Great. I need B12 right now.
There you go. That's how easy it is.
That's amazing. Well, if you guys want to see more of Shane, you can always tune into his Instagram as well, and you can pair up with him on all the incredible things he's now doing in Los Angeles. I thank you so much, Shane, for being on the show and sharing your truth. Hopefully you all know that being truthful and being vulnerable does not mean you're weak. It's pushing you to new heights. With Shane Griffin, I am Brittany Zonker for this episode of Purpose. I'll see you next time.